Here's a look at the table then. Coventry, they're still to play. Middlesbrough, they'll play on Monday, by the way, against Sheffield United, and Ipswich Town now 4 points behind them. Hull City as well doing really well with 54 points. Millwall and Wrexham round out the top 6. Wrexham still in there, Nige. They're creeping up to the top. The bottom half of the table, Sheffield Wednesday, we mentioned them. They've just had a horror show of a season, -7 points. They've got West Brom and Oxford United as things stand in the relegation zone. But as you can see, even Portsmouth won't feel safe, especially Leicester City and Blackburn Rovers, all on the same points as West Brom. Worrying signs, isn't it, if you're near the... I think we always say once you get through the Christmas festive period, that really starts to shape the table. It's such a false sense of security, isn't it, Nige? Because the games just keep on coming in this league. The games keep on coming thick and fast, and there's also the management aspect of it, of being a manager when you talk about so many games coming so quickly, and then you've got to manage the dynamic of players and injuries and dealing with that. How good is your squad? How good is the strength in depth? How good is the academy that's going to produce some players that might be able to fill in for senior players when senior players are out? It's always going to be competitive. That's why I love the Championship. It's forever changing. It's not just the race for the top 6 and who's going to win the league. It's also a relegation fight that seems to be interesting. When you look at Leicester right now, for me, with the points deduction right now, they are not safe. From a club that we will be discussing and talking about promotion back to the Premier League, with the experience and the quality of squad that they've got and how they're underachieving currently, now we're talking about them surviving relegation. That is going to be their main focal point. Yeah, it's crazy to think a decade ago, Leicester City, they were at the top of the Premier League. Now they're in the relegation fight in the Championship after they were handed the 6-point deduction for breaching profit and sustainability rules. The first charge was by the Premier League for breaches in the 3 years up to the 2023-24 season, then taken by the EFL following the Foxes' relegation. The club spent over £20 million above the limit. The deduction was actually halved, though, from the possible 12 points for the club, improving their financial status, but it has dropped them from 17th to 20th as a result of the deduction. I mean, we just spoke about Sheffield Wednesday briefly and what this kind of does for the players' mentality, Grella, but if you're Leicester and you're teetering above safety, which you would have a bigger expectation of them in general this season, to see them in this position is really worrying now. Think about every single player on the roster that came there this season and looked at the bookmakers' odds and looked at it, and we talk about parachute payments, we talk about the quality in the group, and it's a Premier League team. And they're like, okay, they're all there because they think they're going back to the Premier League. That's why they're all there. That's the goal at the beginning of the season. Can you imagine the mind boggle that's just happened now? Now, all of a sudden, they go 24 games without a clean sheet. The last clean sheet was in September against Coventry, albeit the team that scores the most goals in the league. So 24 games without a clean sheet. Then this penalty happens. Now it happens after the transfer window. You can't bring in more players. And now, all of a sudden, you wake up. You're thinking you're going to the Premier League. You wake up next day. You're in a scrap for your life that you don't want to. You end up going to League One. That is what English football all is. You think one thing, but then the truth comes out and it tells you something else. And I think it's now, I was going to mention earlier also when we talk about the table and the shift, this is not a league where you have a lot of time to work on things. It's not a league where you're going to be perfect. It's not a league where you're going to talk a lot about tactics. It's a big-time mental league. Mm-hmm. You need big characters in the changing room. You need guys to be able to switch on and say, okay, roll up our sleeves. This is what's going to be required of us now. We're not going to be playing the most beautiful football. It's not going to be the way we thought it was going to be 2 months ago. Now we have to roll up our sleeves. We have to be compact. We have to stop conceding goals, which, like I mentioned before, 24 games without a clean sheet is crazy. You're never going to be successful doing that in any league. And find ways to just win games and survive this season, then maybe rebuild for the next one. You have to think fast and move fast. From a Leicester's perspective, former player that I actually played with as well, Mark Albrighton, who won the Premier League and said, finally, he's happy, it's all out, now they can move on. And that's the reality. You just have to move on. It's done, it's dusted, move on. But Leicester have to take responsibility of that for them being in this situation. When you look at the decisions that they've made and the managers that they've had, and when they hired Ruud van Nistelrooy at one point, they went for the shiny object, it didn't work. And they've had a succession of managers that they've hired that haven't worked with the dressing room and the team that they have right now. So I think for me is that they need to make the right appointment. They need to take accountability for what they've done in the direction that they're taking the club. But I still feel for the squad that they have, they should not be where they are right now in the Championship. They should be doing a lot better than they have done so far. Is one of the silver linings, Grella, the fact that they were looking at a 12-point deduction? 6 points is still massive, isn't it? But it's a lot better than 12. 2 wins and you kind of sway in the other way. If it's 12, you feel like that is That's really tough.
Yeah, for sure. 12 puts them in more in a position where then now you're desperate, a little bit desperate for points. That probably changes the way you approach games and changes the way you feel about it. You would imagine there with the squad that they have, that they'd be able to find a way to survive. They're tied on points right now. They're only up by, if I'm not mistaken, they're only up by goal difference. I think it's like six goals in the goal difference category. So you would imagine that a club of that stature has enough to survive this season and then build for next season. But then again, we also had them favourites going up. This is a team, by the way, in recent history, won the Premier League.
Listen, I'll tell you this now.
One of the best stories in world football.
Best singular story.
Bocelli singing not long ago there. And now all of a sudden we're talking about maybe League One.
Poppy makes a great point. They got away with one, I tell you, because it could have been a lot more severe. And I think they were lucky to just get the 6 and not the 12. And also, this was a Leicester that did try to be cheeky with the rules when they weren't in the Premier League, and they tried to use that as a loophole to say, well, we don't qualify for this because we're in the Championship. So they tried to play games with the Premier League once before when it comes to this sustainability rules that were in place. Tried to be very smart, and they didn't get away with it, and they were lucky that it wasn't more severe. So for me, it's just be grateful it's 6, but it's not easy said than done to just win 2 games. We've seen what this Championship is like.
Grell's got them surviving, do you? Or do you think they'll be in the relegation scrap?
They've got too much quality to go down, I personally believe. So I think they will just survive.
Thanks for watching this video from our CBS Sports Matchday coverage. For more analysis and for all of the games, including Serie A, EFL, as well as a full suite of UEFA club competitions like the UEFA Women's Champions League, sign up for Paramount+.